We're Jack and Pat Herricks, and welcome to our farm. There was a series of events that happened early in my life that were totally unplanned that led to me having the opportunity to farm here. I was the second oldest of 12 children, and so I thought, boy, there's no chance that I can ever farm the family farm. And when I was going to go to the second year of college, my dad was killed in a tractor accident on the farm. I spoke up right away and said, well, I'd really like to stay here and have a chance to run the farm. And so that's how I ended up here. My conservation ethic, it was just a part of our natural upbringing. And I started hearing about how no-till could work. And I just made up my mind that I was going to be a no-till farmer. And there was very little of it taking place. The paradoxical thing of it is that it's less effort because you need to wait until the soil is ready to plant, and then you can plant and you can get many more acres done in a day than if you were to do all the tillage thing.
We don't have a lot of topsoil here, so we want to keep whatever we have here available for our things to grow. We want it to stay here. We plant seed cover crops, and that helps maintain the soil as well. It gets roots in the ground to help hold it together. And we also use that seed cover as a feed for our heifers as well. If we didn't do any no-till practice or any conservation practice, we would probably wouldn't have any topsoil left because it would be all in the valley, or else we'd have big gullies and big ditches of water running off and taking soil away. And that's why we do what we do. I've seen other places they till and stuff, and I've always wondered why they did that, because of extra fuel, time, labor. They spend a lot of time moving soil, and we're trying to keep it in one spot, so we don't do any tilling.
Well, I think it's to preserve the land for the next generation. You know, to keep the land here so it's fertile and viable for the next generations and generations to come.
About 20 years ago, they had a priority watershed in our area. There was a scientist who came and walked Brush Creek and said, you know, this is a dead trout stream. And interestingly enough, just a couple years ago, the same guy came back and walked Brush Creek again, and he could not believe how the stream over 20 years had revived because of all the conservation practices, and he said now it's a class 3 trout stream. The practice that we embrace in our farm is having sod waterways. We need to keep a mat of grass in these waterways so that when the water collects in that area and runs downhill, it can just run on the grass and not get into the soil and get down to the stream. Where we have a lot of water coming together, we've built erosion control structures. We've had them designed so that they maintain a small pool of water so that there's water on the uplands for wildlife.
Wildlife kind of comes in so that they can drink out of those dams because then there's standing water there. And so riding around, like taking a four-wheeler ride, then you can see the wildlife as you go by. If it's more secluded, they seem to hang out in there.
I do what I do because my true calling is to produce food for God's people. I tell my family, you know, people could maybe get along without a computer or without a watch or a car or something, even electricity. But you know what? I bet they would not very easily give up food. And there's only like 1.5% of us in the United States that produce food. And so when I think about that, I think, boy, this is really a special calling. And it drives me that everything that's needed to produce food, I want to be able to not only preserve it, but I want to make it better. And I want to make it so that this land that sustained our family for 100 years already will be here to be able to sustain my family for many, many more generations.